with that recap, what are you thinking about the power and where these teams stand, and what's your feel of who are the elite teams, who are the teams which are maybe one or two pieces away, and then some which are probably rebuilding for some distant future.
Yeah, I think I probably want to start with I don't know. Should we start with the uh, lottery bound teams?
Yeah,
Um,
that sounds perfect.
um, so I'm just gonna I'm not gonna list out the four, but I'm gonna say that you know if, off the bat, I think based on where what happened in the draft and all the off-season moves, I think BBB de Madrid, they're looking to fade for Cade, definitely. I mean, they're not competing this year. They're not, they're going right to the bottom. They're gonna be. I'm putting them at dead last in my power rankings right now. If I
Hmm.
look at their roster, um, I do see, Donovan Mitchell. I do see Rudy Gobert. Um, but it's rounding out, the pieces to fill around them is just not all that strong. They've got Buddy for some shooting, um, but and then Bertans for some shooting, but I don't know what his minutes are going to be like this year. A lot of people are high on him. I kind of feel like, if he repeats what he does last year, great, but I just don't see it. Um, and he's also got a few injuries. So Gallinari, he's got on the team. Didn't love that pickup for him. Just don't like Gallinari's role this year. Also picked up Rubio. Don't like Rubio's role either. Um, yeah, I don't see a whole lot going on with this squad right now. So
I mean,
they're dead
I
last.
think I think the PJ Washington and the
Yeah, definitely.
Bridges and the
If,
Boucher,
yeah,
right?
PJ
But
Washington
but that's
definitely.
also right. That's like a year away type um of building. So
Yeah, I think this team is set to build for the future, not really make any noise anytime soon. Definitely not this year. So um,
mm,
they're at number 16 for me.
yeah, and I wasn't too far with them. I had them at 15. And you captured most of my overall thoughts of
Okay.
their roster.
Um, okay, they're at 15 for you. Okay. Who do you have last?
Last, I had Blake Express.
Mm,
Blake Express. I mean, they've got a lot of pieces. They just don't seem like they all play well together. So, and that's very important for fantasy basketball. Um, the overall roster construction is
mm,
certainly not there. You've got Whiteside and Bagley, I guess, with the hopes with, you know, one will make it. You've got a bunch of injury risk guys in Capella and Green. Um, DeMarcus Cousins got all the upside in the world, right? But he's also got a bunch of the downside given, his injury history. And
hmm
so, when I looked at this roster, I didn't know, you know, what categories it was going to do well in, or it could, um, look to be, an elite performer in.
Mm,
You
mhm.
know, if say if everybody was healthy, you know, maybe we could possibly, and we knew the minutes, like guys were guaranteed at least 15, 20 minutes. You know, we can certainly say that this team was going to dominate the rebounds, um, the blocks, the field goal percentage. You know, but outside of that, um, I think that's where it stops for me.
Yeah, I mean, I would have seen I would have seen an argument for blocks and field goal percentage. Um, Definitely would have been punting free throws. Um, you know, yeah, outside of that, it's tough because some of their better better players are all kind of playing the same position. Really, for your other categories, you're relying on Jamal Murray and Gordon Hayward, who's having a really good start to the season. Um, and then Karis LeVert, Karis LeVert and Oubre. Um, and then you've got Bagley, who's looks like he's eating up some of the minutes for Whiteside right now. So Whiteside has not come out very strong to start the season, and for me, it's time to start panicking for Whiteside. I don't know what that's going to lead up to, but he's basically fighting for minutes with Rashard Holmes and with again Marvin Bagley, who's playing some of the five, playing some minutes at the five. So I don't know what's going to happen there. And then on his bench, he's got Schroeder, who can start for this team. I think. You just got to figure out where to put him. Um, and then you know how I feel about Draymond. I've been done with Draymond for several years now. um, but
Former two-time defensive player of the year.
yeah, it's nice. But your man, Wiseman's looking promising. I don't know what he did tonight. He doesn't look like he did too much tonight. But did hit a three-pointer, so that's great. Um, but yeah, when you're seeing your big man, uh, who's a rookie shooting 3 for 8, um, when you expect him to be scoring the majority of his points in the paint, it's a little concerning. But he's on the bench. And then Otto Porter, who's got a kind of a six-manish role this year. I think he's got a couple of guys that are like that, with him and Karis LeVert. And Karis LeVert does look good so far. He's been playing well, but I'm concerned about what happens when he's not shooting well. Um, and can he contribute in other areas? Jamal Murray, I'm always lukewarm on Jamal Murray. He had a great bubble, but I've never seen him play like that outside of the bubble. So I don't know. So
Yeah,
I'm not going to disagree with you here.
Jamal Murray. Jamal Murray with fans, absolutely not. He's just he's as streaky as they come. Like,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah,
he'll give you, you know, a couple of games of 40, and then you'll see a couple of duds of like
mhm,
9 and
yeah,
7 and
yeah,
6. He's just I think what he really enjoyed was the consistency of the bubble, right? It was the same thing every day, the same chord,
yeah. He was
all of
locked in.
that, you know,
You
but
could see that he was locked in, and he elevated his play for the playoffs. And if that's who he's going to be for his career, where during the regular season he kind of coasts, but then he turns it up another level and goes in for the playoffs, then the Mavs got something there. For a second there, people were kind of making a little bit of noise, like, "Oh, who's the Nuggets' best player?" I mean, I don't think there's any argument about that. Jokic is their guy. Um, but the one last thing I'll say about this team, you mentioned Marcus Cousins. I'm looking forward to seeing him play, if that ever happens. With the quarantines and the this and the that and the rest that we will probably see from him. It's Oubre. Oubre has not come out looking good his first 3 games. He's basically been single digits scoring his whole game. So if he doesn't turn that around, that's going to be problematic, and we could see Oubre on the block very, very soon um, in the association. So um, I
I
have
mean,
you had
probably in the real NBA as well.
well, he's been traded 3 times already this offseason. So no, twice. I'm sorry. He's
Yeah.
been traded twice this offseason. So I don't know. Deadline could make it a third. We might see something like that. You're right. Um, I hope not, because I like Oubre. I hope he does well. But right now it's not looking good.
I think he'll figure it out. It's just going to be tough for him to play on that team without being able to shoot the ball well. Like the Warriors' offense really relies on people having the ability to knock down 3-pointers, and they just don't have that right now with
Yeah,
the
because
with the
yeah,
current roster they've got assembled.
yeah, and again, I think people are like talking about waiting for Draymond to come back. Right. I
You don't
digress.
think Draymond will get? You don't think Draymond
No,
adds
no,
like
I don't.
5 to 10%
No,
percentage points on these 3-point shots?
no, I
You know,
don't.
he gets the ball to shooters and Spalding so that they're rising with the jumper so that it just flows just so naturally.
I'm not a believer in that,
Yeah.
but
All
maybe,
right, all right, man.
stranger things have happened, right?
Yeah, I hear that, man.
So you had
So,
Blake Express at 15. I believe I had him
mhm.
at 14.
Okay.
So who did you have at? Well, I should say who I did have at 15 was the Sparrows, Syracuse Sparrows. Um, and I think that was probably your 14. So we just flip flop those two.
Yeah,
So we're thinking the
yeah.
same
I mean,
there. They're same range of guys. These guys are probably heading to the lottery.
yeah, clear tank. Like there was no deception, no hiding it. He's
Yeah,
either,
yeah,
Syracuse Sparrows is typically all in or they're all out. And so like I can just see from this roster construction, he was just having a whole lot of fun and
yeah.
choosing guys which are young, have a lot of upside, and could possibly be traded in some
Yeah.
near future.
Because again, Syracuse was one of those teams that came in with a good amount of money, and could have done probably a lot more with what they had. But it looked the clear indicator to me was when they drafted uh, Clay Thompson right out the gate. I was like, okay, you're not looking to compete now, then. So this is going to be
Yeah.
a tank build, and then followed it up
I
with
mean,
with
even before that,
well,
even before that, they threw some dollars at Mike Conley,
yeah, you're right. You're
which
right.
I think is pretty alarming.
Well, I
Um,
think I think he I think he actually even nominated Mike Conley, which was also, you're right, a clear indicator there that I mean, there's a little bit of strategy in that too, but um, I'm surprised when anybody nominates Mike Conley for an auction.
yeah, I can't spend any money on Mike Conley early on. I mean, maybe it's in the single digits, but he's just really old.
I just don't
He
bid,
had a
bro.
hard time fitting.
I don't bid on Mike Conley
Yeah,
at all, and
yeah,
I like him in real life, but I just don't know what's going on with him since he's gotten to Utah. So
yeah,
I'm a pass on Mike Conley, hard pass. Um, what'd you think of
yeah,
$28
yeah. My
for
my.
Clay? Clay, that's gonna look really good if Clay comes back and plays like Clay.
I mean that's some of my favorite moves, right? Because he's
Hmm.
just a great guy to bundle up in a trade. Like you certainly
Yeah,
want to
yeah,
move him. I think his value is certainly highest. Like during the season, somebody is also looking to possibly rebuild, and you can sell him like a good future. Like sell him to the Kings, right? Tell him, hey,
Hmm.
you want,
You
the
want the
other Splash
backcourt. You
Brother,
want all the Splash Brother. Yeah.
I,
Yeah. That'd be a good move
send
for
me
him.
over Bam or Beal or something, right? Like, so
Yeah,
that's a good way to get another asset in return
definitely.
that might fit
Definitely.
better.
And then he followed up with Oladipo. And I thought that was, a nice, you know, eh, like heat check kind of move, like a real depreciating asset who maybe not a lot of people had super interest on. But I'm surprised that he even went for as high as he did and it wasn't super high. It was $32, but
Mhm.
but so far Oladipo's looking good. Um, he's had a
Mhm.
couple of good games. Um, and then followed that up with Miles Turner for 53. I was surprised by that because I thought we were doing uh, you know, just a tanking kind of build. But when you have Jimmy Butler on your team, and I like the value that he's got Jimmy Butler at. I think he's going to be a hot market item that he's going to use to flip into some more assets. Um, he's got some potential here to do some things with this roster. So, but as it currently is constructed, clearly not looking to compete this year.
Mhm. Yeah. And
All right.
looking
So,
at the next couple, looks like we're in violent agreement again.
hmm
The next couple are King's Landing, NY, Klenike. Um, yeah, so those two. Yeah, let's discuss those two.
yeah,
Uh,
the Kings basically ran it back. Kings Landing Kings kept most of their guys going to the free agency period. Did not was not shy about you know trying to make a splash or anything like that. I think he felt good about what he was coming into the season with, and he's a loyalty guy, I think, probably, and just wanted to rock out with the guys that he had, and yeah, basically, just ran it back. Kept Curry at 133, um, Beal, which I love, at 61, and then Bam at 16, or I think it's 16. Um, but you know, outside of those three guys, and he could have maybe, you know, just kept maybe one or two other guys. I would have liked to have seen him do a little bit more remodeling in this room. I don't know that this is obviously based on where we have him. I don't think this is gonna do it right.
yeah, I certainly gotta agree. I think it's one of those rosters where it's got some firepowers when you look at the name values of some of the players, but how these guys fit together and how they're gonna win on the floor each and
Hmm.
every week
Yep.
is just it's a moving target. I just really don't have a good feeling for how that's gonna.
Yeah.
Um,
I mean, and I'm looking here and on the roster, and I'm thinking about the future of this team, and I see Lamelo Ball, which looks intriguing in some cases. Had a not a great start to the season so far, but had an exciting preseason. Um, so I think maybe with some more time, he might become something really to watch out for. But the other young guys on this team, um, who were drafted, Kevin Knox and Cam Reddish. And speaking with that owner, he's not happy with their performances. Um, Cam is probably going to be a promising guy, but with all that Atlanta's got going on with their roster, it's just going to be hard for him to break out, I think. And then Knox, man, I want Knox to do well so badly, but I don't know, man. It's just whatever, man. It's like we just don't see it yet, man. He's coming into his third year. I just don't. He had a good game, couple of game. His last preseason game, he shot the lights out. But going into this season, 3 games in, he's been very underwhelming. So, outside of Curry and Beal and Bam, not a whole lot of just nothing really going on here. Dragic has been good, but where's that going to get you?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, and I mean similar, right? To that token, I mean, and why? Um, he's been running it back, more or less with the same couple of players each year.
Yeah.
I mean, I will say he does seem to find a way to bounce in and out of the playoffs. So he's certainly someone who's dangerous. I mean, he's got the players.
Yeah,
I
he's
like
got
it
he's
when
got some good players. I like what he's got on his team. And unlike the Kings, I think and why he's got a couple of players on here who you can really look at and say, all right, like he's got John Morant, John Morant with Van Fleet, and those guys gonna ball. Vucevic, uh, is always balling, and
that's what he
then
does.
if Porzingis comes back, and we see this every season, right? As we've been saying this for 3, 4
Hmm.
seasons in a row. But if Porzingis comes back and plays like Porzingis, I mean, this guy, he's right. His team is right up there. They're definitely in the hunt for a playoff spot. Um, and especially with Russell Westbrook, the way he started the season. Um, we got to see how this build works with Westbrook, because we know Westbrook will kill you in a few categories. But um, uh, other than that, I mean, what do you think about the build? I like the addition of Serge Ibaka. What do you think?
Yeah, Serge and Baines. I mean, yeah, they
Yeah.
solid upside plays. And they've got two pretty good point guards already as keepers.
Hmm.
Um, I would have liked Herder. I mean, we were talking about the Atlanta situation earlier. I mean, they're just crazy deep. Like I do like his potential, but his opportunity, his immediate opportunity is just not that. It's just not as wide open as say some of the other promising young players for other teams.
Hmm.
Um, so I mean, if he can, get another guard, I think that'll help solidify his position. Like I think it was wasted money or, you know, misuse of draft capital to draft Trevor Ariza for $1. I think sometimes, you just under the gun and you stick with what you know. But I think in this case, what you know was something, just
Yeah. Just
not
FYI,
enough.
yeah, I don't know if Ariza is going to play for that team. Um, got traded to OKC this offseason. I think he's going to pull a Iguodala. Um, what Iguodala did on Memphis, and he's probably not going to play for this team. So that would be a big waste of draft capital, like you mentioned. um, Okay, so we were at number 12. Let's talk about our really 11 through 8, and these are all teams we think will be fighting for the last spot in the playoffs. Um,
Mhm.
and we've got Beantown Bombers, we've got Midtown Moneymen, True Grit, and then My Great Danes. Um, I think all these teams, can go either which way. They can, they have a few hot weeks, string a few hot weeks together. Um, it might look good for them, their chances if things don't work out in a certain way with some of their players. It could be a worse season than any of us are expecting. Um, let's start with B Town, who we have at 11. What are your thoughts on the Beantown Bombers?
Bean Beantown has been collecting assets, for a while. They've unfortunately had some players that have gone down with injuries.
Hmm.
Uh, but I mean, this seems like the year, if any year, that they could really make some noise. Um, and I was a bit disappointed, right? Like, some of that draft capital was used to bring home Boston player Kemba Walker, who, we know from last year is really struggling with health, especially with the knee injury, and is expected to miss at least 2 months, right? And he was on that whole resting protocol, and so I think the
Mm.
upside is just so limited. So, I mean, I think that was just a bad way to spend $42. Um, and then
What'd you
I,
think
I
about Brooke at
you know, I,
62?
uh, I think I think people get comfortable with seeing that someone has been able to do a certain thing for so long.
Hmm.
But I think
Hmm.
sometimes we lose track of the age, the years, and the direction that a team is going. Um,
Hmm.
I saw Brooke being rested a whole lot more, playing less minutes, because that's a big man, going up and down the court, shooting 3 pointers, and trying to keep up with small ball basketball. Um, and so I think for $62, you know, I think that's just so expensive. But I get what that owner was thinking, and they were probably thinking, "Hey, I need some blocks. This is
Need some
probably the best
threes, yeah.
available guy left after Turner." But I mean, Turner looks like a huge
Hmm.
value play, given the price that Brook went for.
Yeah, and just thinking about just after thinking about your comments on Kemba, who and I'll be honest, I didn't do enough background on Kemba's condition or where he was really at. So I did get him in a few leagues, but yeah, 42 and then 62 with Brooke. I mean, I have to believe that Beantown would have rather have brought Chris Paul to Beantown for $61 rather than
Mhm,
Brooke for 62, and then use the
mhm,
Kemba dollars 42. I mean, this is all in hindsight, of course, but 42, you look at, some of the guys who went for that dollar value. I mean, CJ for what it's worth went for $46 to Midtown, and that was like a great pick, a great, uh,
mhm.
you know, I mean, even Aldridge at 45, you know, where I don't know if you got to pick between him and Brooke, you know, um,
I mean, and
yeah,
Aldridge just started blocking shots, or he had like a career year last year where he was closing in at 2 blocks a game.
yeah, I was surprised to see
So
that as well. Um, I didn't see that coming. Um, but yeah, I just to your point on Kemba and Brooke, yeah, definitely would have liked to have seen those dollars be spent some other way. Um, but yeah, speaking of his roster though, what are your thoughts on the build, the rest of the build? Because he does have some good pieces here. I like the DiVincenzo, um, which was a keeper. RJ Barrett looks he's having a really good start to the season, minus his
Lowry, Lafine.
minus the game where he basically shot one for whatever it was, one for 16 or whatever it was he shot. And then obviously, he's got Kevin Durant who came back from injury and looks great. Um, Keeper and Christian Wood, Zach Levine. Um, I mean, Kyle Lowry, Kyle Lowry's on the team as well. So you got to think about it, man. If you got Kyle Lowry, you got RJ, and Kemba comes back, you got DiVincenzo, Durant, Christian Wood,
I mean, I could
Zach
see the
Levine.
case for
Yeah, I could
for
see
slipping in the playoffs.
yeah, I
I
could
could see it.
definitely see it. Um, I could definitely see it. And then again, the big names, one of the big names who's coming off injury, and I really forget what happened to this guy. I don't know if he tore his ACL or what it was. Had a big knee injury in the bubble. But Jonathan Isaac is also on this roster. So
Mhm.
who knows what could happen if a guy like him, and he's another guy like you mentioned with injury on this team. He's another guy who he's always seems to be hurt, and is always recovering from some sort of injury. So between the rest with Durant and Brooke, and then injuries with Kemba and Jonathan Isaac, it could be a struggle. Age is a factor here as well. Kyle Lowry's getting up there, Brooke Lopez is getting up there, and that means you're gonna be relying heavily on Christian Wood and RJ Barrett to carry your team. So yeah, I think maybe properly rated at 11 is probably where how we're gonna wrap that one up. What do you think about Midtown Money Men?
As you indicated earlier, I think they, you know, had a good offseason or free agency draft. Added some good pieces at the guards with McCollum and Teague, and then added some defense and some shooting with Covington.
Hmm.
Um, and then they've got a good foundation with Jokic and DeRozan. And so I think they've got a fighting chance, um, to make a playoff spot. Um,
Yeah.
I don't know if I can get anything past that. I just don't see um, enough players that kind of raise my eyebrows or give me supreme confidence.
Hmm.
But
Yeah, I mean,
all you need is a couple of these guys to get hot.
yeah, definitely. I mean, CJ went off last night. Um, what he
Yeah.
dropped 44 or something like that, against the
Yep.
Rockets. And then you got you guys like Covington and then you got guys that you hope will give you some good surprising games. I mean, Jeremy Grant is on this team who had his last game was really good. Had a double double. And I think that's the guy Detroit wants to see. We haven't seen. We'll see if he can give that consistently. I have my doubts, but um, yeah, I mean DeRozan is solid, and then you got Montrezl Harrell, who's going to. Here's what I like. I know we kind of differ on how much we like Montrez, but I like Montrez on especially on this team because I think he's still going to give you similar type production that he gave us last year as the sixth man of the year. And I
Mhm.
think he's going to um, have an opportunity on some nights be the main guy out there getting a lot of the touches. So what I'm when I in moments where AD is resting or LeBron is resting, I could see Montrez coming in, or even having getting the start some nights, because I mean Gasol is not taking up that many more minutes than Montrez. Like I'm people are talking about Gasol, but they got him for the playoffs. Like they got him. He's not a regular season guy. Like, he's done with that.
Mhm.
You see what I'm saying? So I like Montrez here, and then the rookie that was drafted, Precious Achua. Um, he had a interesting preseason, and could be a guy that becomes a factor later in the second half of the year. So I think people should watch out for that.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, yeah, I think it's got a fighting chance. And so the next team it looks like we've got is
True grit.
Donegal, True Grit. Um, True Grit, I mean, they've got some good keepers. They've got they've got the Memphis front court with Triple J and JV. They've got Jalen Brown, which has been phenomenal the last 2 years. Kobe White, very promising. Fournier, which is always forgotten. Bogdanovich, solid. And then they, picked up, Baisley Burks. And then, the biggest pickup is Anthony Davis. And so, if
Certainly.
I had to choose, and so it's just a team for me, um, that's just got like 4 or 5 categories that, that they can, count on if if their bigs are healthy, right? So it's very important to this team's identity that Davis and Triple J and JV are playing, or at least 2 of the 3 are playing games, I should say. Um, and
Hmm. Yeah.
because otherwise, they'll be blindsided, if one of those guys go down, right? So if Davis is missing a week, then this team is basically going to turn into a bye.
Right.
So
Like,
yeah, so that's the fragility, or the fragility of the roster is, you know, will it stay healthy enough? In my opinion.
yeah. I mean, I definitely see what you're saying. You know, Jalen Brown is solid. You got a lot of solid guys on this team. Jalen Brown, Evan Fournier, even Alec Burke, who had a good season for you know Philly and Golden State these past couple of years. Um, and then Bogdanovich in Atlanta, and then a nice young sleeper in Baisley. Um, he might get some good quality minutes this year, and do some dirt. And then Triple J, when does he come back? If he comes back, plays well with Valanciunas and with Davis, um, you know, that could be a really nice team. Kobe White had a even tonight played well, or played better than he has his last 2 games. And this team is going to need Kobe White to play like this version of Kobe White, and not the last 2 games version of Kobe White, or else it's going to be tough. And then same thing with Derrick Rose. Derrick Rose can be, you know, I think if once Killian Hayes adjustment settles in, depending on what he turns into, you know, you could see, a lot of trade talks with Rose. Is Rose going to be there? I think he will. I think he'll stick around. Um, I don't think they'll trade him, but you know, definitely going to need to rely on Rose being like somewhat consistent, um, to for this team to really make make that run into the playoffs. But they usually do. This team usually does find a way to be relevant. So after a season like he had last year, I think he is ready to make sure that he's a lot more competitive this year. That was like a rare off year for him. So, all right, let's move on
Agreed.
to my team, Great Danes. Um, I'll let you kind of give your thoughts first.
Yeah, so leads discussion. With greetings. Yeah, so by far, some of the best keepers, with the promising, shooting guard, small forward, and Shea. Uh, uh, and you also had the offseason trade to acquire Kyrie Irving, which is blazing hot right now.
He is blazing.
Um, and then Nurk was a great pickup. Um, and then Mitch Robinson, the project, and Julius Randle, which is off to a blazing start already this season. Um, I have to admit, looking at this roster top down now, um, it's certainly better than where I initially ranked it. Um, I will say I've got some like many teams, I've got some concerns about health and fit, like like the Love and the Bledsoe. Love's not happy in Cleveland. Bledsoe's on a new team, and it's unclear what their identity is going to be and what they're trying to do. With Stan Van Gundy there. I
Yeah.
really do like the Beasley pick. Beasley is, he's just been solid and lights out. I mean, he was solid on Denver. They just couldn't find minutes because they were
Hmm.
just so deep. And
Yeah.
now in Minnesota, we're really getting to see him blossom. Didn't realize, yeah, Tobias Harris, like literally, like I missed it, just even, looking over your team now, I probably missed it when I was doing the power rankings. He's just a
Mhm.
guy you just pass him, right? Like he's
Just
just so boring,
he's
right?
just like,
Like
yeah,
like he's
he's
got to give you like
yeah.
17, 18 points, got to give you like 7, 8 rebounds, he's going to shoot like 46, 47% from the field, and he's just never going to get his credit. He's just
No.
never going to get his credit, right? And so I think that's certainly an oversight for me.
Mhm.
Um, but I mean, I think if I had to choose where I think this team would probably end the season, I think somewhere between that 5 to 8 spot, right?
Mm.
Where they're a couple games out from the first position, but really gearing their roster to making that playoff push. Because I mean, you've done it before from that spot, right? Where um, you get some momentum and you get players playing some of their best basketball down the stretch of the season, so that you can make a big playoff push. Um, yeah, so
Yeah.
those are my general thoughts on
Yeah.
the roster.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. I have got a bunch of guys on this team that I think are easy to look over. They don't jump off. I don't have, besides Kyrie Irving, I don't really have anybody, and Shea, who's, like,
Mhm.
you know, um, but there's not a lot of guys on this team who jump off the page. Like you said, Tobias Harris is super, super reliable. consistent guy. I've my third year. This is my third year with this guy on my roster. He's just quiet, just does his job, scores, is efficient, but very boring. Just boring, a boring guy. But I don't know if you remember me picking up Tobias Harris and back when we had the what was the name of that league with the contracts. This is when
The
this is what
dynasty,
yeah, the
it was
dynasty
the
league.
dynasty.
Yeah, back when Toby was he was playing for the Bucks at the time. Nobody knew who he was, and I was like,
Mhm.
man, I like this guy, man. I'm getting him. And I was like
Guys,
a
just
year
couldn't
or
get it
two
at
too
times.
early on Tobias Harris, um but I just love Tobias Harris, man. He's just but anyway, yeah, I made the trade for Julius Randle this offseason, which is a guy I typically would not have on my team, but um, I thought for what I was trying to do in terms of improving my rebounding, that I could. He's a guy who I probably was in the range to get without giving up too many assets. So I made the trade with Terry Rozier, traded Terry Rozier for Julius Randle, and I think it's worked out for both me and the Celtics, Bimtown Celtics. So Terry Rozier has come out hot this year. A lot of people are down on Terry, but I liked him when I had him. I thought he was consistent, good scorer, shooting threes. Not the most efficient guy, but didn't have a bad year, and was surprisingly good as far as like the minutes and everything. And I don't. I mean, people were talking about Lamelo coming in and taking up minutes, and that'll happen eventually. But this guy got paid, man. Like they're not gonna just, you know, bring him in on his big contract and then have him just like losing minutes to a guy who can't shoot. Um, so Graham came in and was a surprise, but they're still starting Terry Rozier. They're still starting Graham. Both of them look good. Um, and I was able to turn him into Julius Randle, who's giving me incredible value right now. Just tonight alone, three pointers, 29 points, 14 rebounds, 7 assists. I think I made a comment to you last night when when they were getting spanked by who they played, Philly. They played Philly last night and got spanked. And he only had 2 assists last night, 2 or 3 assists last night. But I was like, I like
Mm,
what Julius is doing. I think he's looking like a playmaker, and he comes out tonight with 7 assists.
mhm.
So if he could play like that, um, you know, I think there's a chance that him and Love could do some damage if Love ever gets to play and doesn't get traded. I agree with you. I don't like Love on this team on the Cavs. Um, and then he's got the question, always the injury concerns. But it is what it is. Eric Bledsoe. I like Eric Bledsoe a little bit more than most people, um, but he's not had a good start to the
Mhm.
season. And good thing for me, Darius Garland's having a great start to the season. So Garland is about to get those minutes for me, and um, Beasley as well has been.
Bledsoe just had a game-winning block.
Oh, did he? Okay.
But yeah, Bledsoe had a game-winning block in today's game. He blocked. I think it was DeRozan. He was trying to shoot the three at the buzzer to tie the game, and
Mm.
Bledsoe like blocked his shot like it was another day in the office. like,
I have to go
like
back and watch
it was
some
yeah, it
Pelicans to
was under yeah.
see how he's being used because he started out the season great, had a good first game, but has not done anything since that point that I've been happy with. And like you said.
I got to see I was gonna add, I'll add, I got to see Brandon Ingram in the post interview after the game,
Mhm.
and they were asking him some questions, about the offense, and he made the joke that he doesn't even know the plays. He's like Stan Van Gundy came with like 30 new plays, and he's like, I don't know the plays, but he's like, I know where people like to get the ball. I know, what their spots are. And so that kind of stuck to me
Mm,
with, okay, like Bledsoe came like yesterday. So you certainly don't know what his spots are. And you certainly don't know where he likes to get the ball. And you're the biggest playmaker on the team, right? I mean, though you're not, the point guard on the stat sheet, I mean, you're basically Hidu Turkoglu,
mhm,
in this offense, right?
mm,
You're trusted to facilitate the offense.
right.
And so I think it's going to take some time. So I think I am certainly um, low on Bledsoe, but that comment, you know, made me realize that I need to start looking for some buy low opportunities
Mm.
in fantasy, especially if he struggles for a couple more games, because he's certainly gonna uh, turn things around.
He should, and he showed you his potential in game one of the season against Toronto. They beat Toronto, and had. Yeah, I think the major difference in his performance, um, the first game versus the last two games he had is shooting. He shot 50%. In the first game and finished with 4 3-pointers, 18 points, 6 assists. He's turning the ball over a little bit too much, but in the same amount of minutes, the very next game, he didn't shoot well. Only finished with 1 3-pointer and then 5 points. Say still had 6 assists, so he is at a point where he's not a distributor, but he's making the right play and finding guys. And then his game against San Antonio today, the numbers don't look good. Um, but as you mentioned, he did get that block shot, so I'm happy about that at least. So we'll see. We'll see what happens with him. If he doesn't play well, I'm just gonna put Beasley in, and Darius
Mhm.
Baisley. So I'm not really worried about it, and he'll sit on my bench until he starts looking good again. Um, no, that's it.